Hello everyone, I hope you're all keeping well. Let's talk about Syria because the events surrounding this tiny country are of very serious concern to many people, including myself. We are seeing this march towards war. The war drums are beating, and there are folks that are pushing right now for an escalation in events, which is extraordinarily dangerous. You see, if you go to war with Syria, the consequences of that have not properly been thought through by these people. If you go to war in Syria, you will destroy the West entirely. America will be destroyed. Britain will be destroyed, and Europe will end up being destroyed. Why is this the case? There are several reasons for this. There are several reasons why going to war is an extraordinarily bad idea. And the war hawks in America, in Europe, in Canada, all the NATO nations have not properly thought through exactly what would happen if they were to go and destabilize Syria further. Now, there are folks that are ordinary citizens that are also supportive of war. Two things about this. Either they have never seen war. They never grew up in a time of war. They probably grew up in peacetime, if they're younger citizens. Or they're basically just bloodthirsty maniacs, and perhaps that applies to the first group too. These are people that we're talking about, human beings, living in a sovereign nation. I think people forget that all too often. Syria is a sovereign nation. The United States of America is in Syria without the permission of the Syrian government, which is a legitimate government. And the thing is that the Russians are in there as well. Now, the Russians are there with the permission of the Syrians. They are allies with the Syrians. Now, you can disagree with the methods that they are employing. You can despise the Syrian regime. It is right that that be the case if what we are being told about the Syrian regime is true. But here's the problem. Now, one of the reasons why this whole thing has escalated in the ways that it has over the last few days is because of this chemical attack that we're told took place. We're also told that President Assad gassed his own people when he was winning the war inside the country, the civil war that has been raging for years, against the rebel forces and against ISIS. He starts winning the war. The United States, Donald Trump, starts talking about pulling out of Syria, so he gasses his own people. That makes no sense because obviously if it does that, you're going to get international responses to it. So why would he do that? This doesn't make any logical sense, quite obviously. Now, some people have suggested that this nefarious group, the White Helmets, which is kind of affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, really, in real terms, might have carried out this chemical attack if it did in fact happen. This seems reasonable. Why does it seem reasonable? Because the previous chemical attacks which happened inside Syria, in Khan Sheikhoun and so forth, last year, and previous to that, have all been confirmed as having been conducted by rebel groups. So the stories that we're being fed are very suspect. Now, keep in mind, I am not a fan of Russia. I am not a fan of the Syrian regime at all. I have done more work on this channel to explain the problems with Russia than most people out there. But that doesn't mean that I think that going to war inside Syria or anywhere else with the Russians is a bloody good idea. No. It's insane. It's insane. You can't comprehend the level of destruction that would be brought if we went to war with the Russians. Okay, it's as simple as that. But what happened following this chemical attack was that Israel used this as a pretext to carry out an airstrike inside Syria, which destroyed a base that the Israelis tell us had Iranian forces in it. So, well, maybe that's true. It's a T4 base. Maybe it's true. But I have my suspicions about what the Israelis are feeding us in terms of information as well. Now, for some reason, I can't figure out quite why, America apparently needs to go to war for Israel because they're an ally. Now, how does this is my question to the people that are pro-war, okay? How does this guarantee that America's interests are furthered in the region? Okay, how does going to war or striking Syria do anything to address any of America's concerns, keep America safer, or protect America? Okay, the answer is it doesn't. Okay, it truly doesn't. Now, there are legitimate concerns when it comes to nuclear weapons, development of nuclear weapons inside Syria. Some people are concerned about that. But the Israelis seem to destroy the factories or the facilities that try and do that anyway. So why does America have to get involved? Can someone explain that to me? Okay, this nonsense of solidarity with Israel is being taken a step too far. Okay, it's way, way beyond the call of duty, let us say. Okay? So, you know, there are a lot of things about this whole situation which I'm not comfortable with. Now, the Israelis, why did they target this base with the Iranians? Well, they've been stewing for a war with Iran for years. It's a part of their greater Israel project. Let's you and I understand something here, okay? Iran doesn't give a fuck about America, okay? Their sole problem is with the Israeli government. Iran doesn't want to attack America or Britain or any other NATO nation. They're not interested in that. Yes, they have Hezbollah, but Hezbollah are mostly engaged in activities against Israel. Okay, and Israel has every right to defend its own country, its own borders, if it so chooses to do that. Okay, but it doesn't mean other countries should be getting dragged into Israel's conflicts. Okay? The Israelis are sneaky bastards, quite honestly, for setting this up in the way they have. I do not like this one bit. Okay, and I think caution is necessary in this. So, as I say, everyone's being fed bullshit about all this nonsense with Iran and Syria and, we need to go to war. I don't understand why. They keep pushing this WMD angle. You'll notice that, okay? It's consistent. With Iraq, they did this. The WMD, we need to go in there for the WMD. Iraq did not have WMD when we went in there. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact. It is an indisputable fact, okay? What happened with Iraq, for those that don't know, right, was that the Russian government at that time had put chemical weapons into Iraq to try and goad America to invade Iraq, because they knew correctly at that time, okay? The Russians are very clever, as are the Israelis. Every other world actor seems to be smarter than fucking America. I don't understand this, okay? But they put the weapons into Iraq, okay, for the sole purpose of goading America into a war, because they knew there would be a massive backlash against the US administration, against the government, against the armed forces, and so on. They were correct in surmising that, but America walked into it anyway. Now, the pretext that George Bush gave was this, weapons of mass destruction, we need to invade Iraq. Somehow he magically connected it to 9/11. Nobody really knows how he did that or why. It was insanity. Hundreds of thousands of innocent people died. Children died. Okay? Now, I want to say something about this. There will be people that offer the objection to what I'm saying here. with regards to Syria and say that children died in Syria in this chemical attack. Okay. How many children died in this chemical attack? Count them. Count the numbers, okay? Are you telling me that carrying out military strikes, possibly entering into a nuclear war or some other type of war, World War III with Russia, are you telling me that's not going to take more lives? In the hundreds of thousands, possibly the millions, possibly the billions, if it all goes heinously wrong. Are you telling me that that is logical or sensible to suggest that? Obviously not. Okay, but these people don't consider that. It's all about emotion. And what this propaganda does, my guess is Israel pushed this propaganda out there. What this propaganda does is it tugs on the heartstrings of people. Okay, it tugs on the heartstrings of people. It's very, very dangerous stuff that is going on here, right? Now, even with the argument, let's get back to what I was saying about the weapons of mass destruction for a second here, okay? I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place with this, but there's so much to address on this issue that I don't know if I'll be able to cover everything. But even if what we're told about the weapons of mass destruction, the nuclear weapons, whatever, those concerns are real, okay? Here's the thing. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. India has nuclear weapons. Russia, of course, has nuclear weapons, and it's rumoured that the Israelis have nuclear weapons, among others, the North Koreans as well. Aside from North Korea, as far as the other countries are concerned, we're not invading any of those countries, are we? We're not invading them, and the question is to be asked, if we are going to invade Syria because of chemical weapons use or whatever abuses by the government there, if you take a look at how many other governments around the world are abusing the citizens of their various countries, we would have to invade every other country on the face of the earth. Okay, and that's no joke. Right? So it doesn't make sense that Syria ought to be singled out in the way that it has for this. We're not invading, what's that place? Burma. Okay? Myanmar. We're not invading there, despite the horrendous human rights abuses. We're not invading South Africa, despite the government there advocating the torture and the killing and the raping of citizens. We didn't invade Zimbabwe. Okay, and these countries have committed horrendous atrocities. I mean, there's just a degree of hypocrisy with regards to all of this, quite honestly. And one other thing I would say with regards to this situation is, you know, there's this outcry at the UN right now over Syrian chemical weapons, and if that's the case, then sure, we should be outraged about it. But nobody's outraged about Saudi Arabia's attacks on innocent civilians in Yemen, which have killed over 500,000 people. Okay? Nobody's highlighted that. And also, let us not forget that the American government has signed deals with the Saudi government for billions of dollars worth of weapons. Okay? Collectively, all the NATO nations, the UK, America, France, you name it, we're selling weapons to Saudi Arabia so they can kill people in Yemen. We're not invading Saudi Arabia. Okay, so this doesn't, like I say, this smacks of hypocrisy. It smacks of lunacy, quite honestly. And I think we need to be careful of the way that we are being propagandized right now. Now, I'm going to talk specifically about the Trump administration here as well. This administration has gotten completely out of control, quite honestly, right? And folks don't want to hear it. Folks don't want, on any side, they don't want to really hear it. The Democrats applaud the Trump administration, okay, the U.S. administration that's there right now. They applaud it when war hawks are advocating a pro-war stance. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen, okay? They applaud this. And you've got these establishment hacks that are Republicans doing the same thing. It's unbelievable. The entire establishment is, I mean, what can you say? They just want to push the military-industrial complex forward. See, what a lot of people don't understand this. There's a difference between the US military and the military-industrial complex. The MIC inside the United States or in any other country is controlled by corporations. Okay, and these corporations benefit immensely from war. Okay, so do the agencies, the alphabet soup agencies that exist. Right, because it gives them something to do. They get a lot of money out of this. Okay, so there is no logic, there is zero logic, as I say, to going to war for the average citizen. It doesn't benefit them in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Okay? The only people it benefits are those folks that own those corporations in the military-industrial complex and the senators or the politicians that own the stocks or the shares in those weapons manufacturing companies. Okay, these arms manufacturers make like bandits, okay? They make a ton of cash. And we're talking in the hundreds of billions here. That's what happened with the Iraq war as well. Now, let's talk about John Bolton for a second as well. Okay, again, a lot of people don't want to hear this. But what the fuck was Trump thinking putting John Bolton in there? In the National Security Council. Okay, this man is a war hawk. He was behind PNAC, the Project for a New American Century. That got us into the war in Iraq. He was a big supporter of regime change in Iraq and in Libya and, of course, now in Syria. Okay? If he's heading it, then you can bet your bottom dollar NATO are planning regime change again in Syria. Very, very dangerous stuff, because if that happens, the entire country crumbles. You'll end up with further refugee crises. The previous refugee crises that we saw throughout Europe and America and what have you, that was because of the destabilization of these Middle Eastern countries, like Syria, like Libya, like Iraq. Okay, the moment Gaddafi in Libya was removed, the stopgap, if you like, the prevention for any kind of migrant crisis went away. Okay, because when they killed Gaddafi, they didn't just remove him; they murdered him in a horrendously brutal fashion. Okay, CIA-backed rebels, shall we call them, inside Libya did that. They murdered him in cold blood. So, once Gaddafi was removed, I'm not saying it's right or wrong what they did, okay? Morally, it's completely wrong in my opinion. In my personal opinion, that was heinously wrong, but let's put that aside. Okay, so you remove Gaddafi, what happens? All these migrants from Central Africa flood into, and further south, they flood into Libya, and they start making their way in massive waves into Europe, destabilizing Europe. Okay? The problems we're seeing in Sweden, in the UK, in France, are all due to this. You see, you cannot, here's the thing, you can't go destroying countries and then not expect something to happen as a result, as a consequence of that. So these people that are pro-war don't seem to want to acknowledge this. Okay? And most of them seem to be in favor of open borders as well. I mean, this doesn't make any sense, right? To the logical mind, it's like you've all just fucking checked out of reality. Okay? But, yeah, no, John Bolton is a very, very dangerous guy to have sitting there advising Trump. Okay? See, Trump has made some serious mistakes here, and people, again, they want to pretend. You know, I've said this before, the folks that trot out this garbage about, 4D chess, 5D chess, 9000D chess, he's playing underwater backgammon, okay? No, he's not. He's not. He's made serious mistakes, very serious mistakes, constantly and consistently. The first strike in Syria being the first, okay? Launching missiles into Syria, the Tomahawks, last year was not a smart idea. It did not address the problem, obviously. Okay, if this chemical attack indeed did happen again, it didn't address the underlying problem. There was no strategy behind it. Okay, so that's one thing. Then you have this gun grab, this attack on the Second Amendment. He's talking about taking guns away before due process. Do you guys remember that? That happens. Okay? Don't tell me that, oh, that's 5D, 9000D chess. It's not. Okay? It's not. This is not what's going... You are making up this imaginary, fictitious, comic book hero in your heads. Okay? You seem to think that Trump has some kind of fucking magic superpowers. He doesn't. Okay? This is not what's going on. Okay. The third thing he did, of course, was to sign that omnibus bill, which prevents any kind of wall being built to help with the migration crisis in the United States. It also gave money, massive amounts of money, signed away a lot of that money to some very, very sinister causes, let us say, as well. It added $1.3 trillion to the national debt inside America. This is not clever thinking here that's going on. Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is not reasonable to hypothesize or suggest this. You are hallucinating. Okay, if you think that this is, as I say, underwater backgammon whilst wearing swimming trunks or whatever else, no, this is your own delusion. It is your own hallucination. You are not a well person psychologically if you think that, quite frankly. Okay? And, again, this push for war with Syria that again has reared its head now. The appointment of Bolton, the appointment of Pompeo, these are not clever moves. Okay? Putting Gina Haspel as head of the CIA, these are not clever moves. These are the moves of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Okay, this is ridiculous flailing, quite honestly, and it's not. This is not the way things should ever be done. This is not the way that sensible people would go about conducting their business. Okay, especially the business of running a country. The firing of Flynn. Okay, the firing of Flynn, a man who understood what was going on with regards to Russia, with regards to Islamist extremism, many other factors. Firing Flynn, not a smart idea, not a clever idea. It was one of the most idiotic things he could have done. He did that. Getting rid of McMaster. Now, McMaster, for all his faults, okay, people have criticisms of McMaster, but McMaster, again, was somebody like Flynn who really understood the dynamics of what the hell was going on. He fired him as well. Then we had Tillerson, who really understood at the State Department what needed to be done. The situation with Russia, with Syria, with North Korea. Tillerson had a completely honed understanding of what was happening. He was fired. Okay. General Kelly is now on the chopping block. He's halfway out the door already. A lot of people don't know this. Okay. And we've got John Bolton being brought in. Right? And many of these people that he's bringing in now, Trump's bringing in, are Bush-era war hawks. Okay? They're Bush-era war hawks. So what you're getting with Trump right now is George Bush Part 2. In a great many ways, with what he's setting up. And here's the thing. The people that are still supporting this, okay, the people that are supportive of this push and drive to war, are the same people that supported George W. Bush. The hardcore supporters, okay, that won't even criticize even in the least bit what is going on here. right? They're not holding Trump's feet to the fire at all, right? Those folks were hardcore supporters of George Bush as well. They were hardcore supporters of the Iraq War. They were hardcore supporters of the Afghan War. They were hardcore supporters of the Libyan invasion and destabilization. These people that are doing that are supporting all of this, are psychopaths. Even the ordinary citizens, they are psychopathic. They are hungry for destruction. They have this raging bloodlust that is out of control. Okay, they are not sane, quite frankly. We, however, who are opposed to war are in the majority, so we need to be keeping on top of those people that are maniacal, that are deluded, that don't understand the dangers of everything that is happening. Now, the other thing is, in regards to Syria, the Chinese. Now, a few days ago, I was telling people this, and folks didn't get it, but it's been reported today. I said a few days ago, however, that the Chinese warships had been ordered to join the Russian Navy in case of an attack on Syria. So you've got, as I say, the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, who will all retaliate. They've all publicly stated they would retaliate in the event of a strike. Okay, they're not just going to let another strike happen. Okay. Now, there are folks, again, these war hawks, these people that are pro-war, even in the ordinary citizenry, that think that if we did go to war with Russia or with Iran or with China, especially China, they think that America would somehow magically beat them all. Right? First of all, understand there are no winners in a nuclear holocaust. Can we first acknowledge that? Okay. The second thing is that simply would not be the case, right? Even in conventional war. The reason behind this, and the generals know this, the Joint Chiefs of Staff know this, okay, and they know it intimately, okay. The missile guidance systems that the United States is using, okay, this is the thing. Those are outdated. Okay, yes, there are nice, new, shiny missiles, as Trump fucking tweeted, right? But that's not important right now. It doesn't matter how new your missiles are. The guidance systems are relying on Motorola chips. Okay, I'm telling you this because this is important. This needs to be public knowledge. They're using old Motorola chips from the 1970s. Okay, that equipment has not been upgraded one iota. Okay, it's very important for you to understand that. None of the stuff that is being used in the background, in terms of the U.S. military, is remotely prepared for war. Okay, we are grossly inadequately prepared, both in America and in Britain. Why is that? Because the conventional warfare mechanisms were dwindled, they were reduced over the last 8 years or so, okay? At least, we have been spending less and less on the armed forces, okay? So the military has been getting less money, but at the same time, they haven't really invested that money wisely either. Now, the $1.3 trillion bill, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of that from the omnibus bill that is going towards the military. Okay, that is not going to cover what needs to be done to upgrade the equipment properly. Okay, the Russians, on the other hand, okay, now this is where people go wrong. Okay, this is why I'm saying our people. That are the people in our countries that are championing war don't have a sound understanding of this. The Russians have been spending bagloads of money on their military, on upgrading everything. Okay, from the behind-the-scenes systems to the shiny new missile systems, everything. Okay, that's where they've been putting their money. Now, what happens is, the reason why people have this misnomer about this matchup between, let's say, the US and Russia, is because Russia actually spends less in terms of its GDP, like a total fraction of what America does on its weapon systems, okay? But here's the reason for that. The Russians don't need to pay as much, Okay, see, what happened is because of inflation and the Fed, okay, the Federal Reserve, and what's going on inside America, you end up paying 10 times the price for simple component parts. Okay, that's no joke. You can ask anybody who knows their onions on this, they'll tell you this. The equipment ends up being 10 to 20 times more expensive just on basic things, let alone titanium and silver and stuff that's used in these missile systems. So you end up spending more, but you're getting less bang for your buck. Okay, that's what's going on with America's military. The Russians, it's not the same situation because they're getting a lot of their equipment straight out of China. Okay, out of China, formerly out of the Ukraine as well. So they are armed to the teeth. Okay, and just to give you one example of what would happen if America went up against Russia, even inside Syria. Okay, even inside Syria, a single Kinzhal hypersonic Mach 10 missile would basically destroy, or at least do massive amounts of damage to an entire Navy US carrier group. Okay, the entire carrier group. Do you understand that? One single missile would do that. Okay, and again, folks just want to ignore that. You see, this is the most important part of all of this, I think. Let me say this, and then I'll get on to some other things as well with regards to what has been going on. Now, in wartime, Russia's capabilities would be immense. And even if the Russians weren't involved and America gets into a war, another war in the Middle East, American soldiers' lives would be on the line. Okay, they would be killed in massive numbers. You would need a good supply of body bags if you go to war, in Syria especially. Okay? This is not a tin pot dictatorship, okay? This is not a game. This is not Battleship or whatever the hell else people seem to think it is. This is a serious situation. Take a look at the number of troops that died in Iraq, in Afghanistan. We've got troops dying in Djibouti, of all places, right now. They don't need to be there, okay? You take a look at all of this, and you tell me that it's worth it. That it's worthwhile going to war in countries that don't want us there, okay, that don't want the Americans or the British or any NATO country in there, that despise everything that the West stands for, okay. You tell me it's worth American lives or British lives. You tell me that. You tell me it's worth sending your sons or your daughters to war. To come back in a body bag. You tell me that's worth it. Okay? No sane person would. Okay? And this is the thing. It's not Trump's children. Okay? Trump's children, his sons, his daughters, won't be going to war. Trump himself avoided the draft. He dodged the draft. Okay? You have to understand this. So, if Trump takes America to war, he's not going to suffer from it. Ordinary American citizens will. Okay, the U.S. military will. This is not. Oh God! I mean, this is just. It's a nightmare of epic proportions, quite honestly. Okay, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. This is the thing. This is why I am saying, and many others are saying, okay, you've got people like Stefan Molyneux saying the same thing, do not go to war. Do not go to war. Okay? So, as I say, I mean, there's some very, very serious problems with the whole idea of... and there's no strategy. There's no strategy on how to deal with the Syrian situation whatsoever. Okay? If you just do another strike there, kill people, maybe minimize the damage, let's say, even if it's a controlled strike, just a kind of a fireworks sideshow, you still don't have a strategy for how to deal with the problem of Assad if you think that Assad is a problem. Okay? If you're pro-regime change, you don't have a coherent policy in terms of how to deal with things. Right? What America really needs to do is get the hell out of Syria. It doesn't need to be in there. You know? And there's this whole situation now that is developing where the Joint Chiefs of Staff are in conflict now with Trump. Okay? They do not... They're very seriously troubled by Trump jumping the shark. You know, because Trump earlier said that... he said, get ready, Russia, because the missiles are coming, okay? Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice, new, and smart. Okay, this is what he tweets. Does he know what the fuck he's doing? Of course not. Of course not. At this point, it's abundantly clear. He has no clue what he's doing, okay? And if that's really the case, then... you know, we've got serious problems here. But the Joint Chiefs Secretary of Defense Mattis, who's a very wise man, by the way. He's a very wise man. He's the last wise man left in the cabinet right now, said the following. He said, a final decision on Syria hadn't been made, when Trump tweeted, missiles will be coming. Then Mattis went on to say that the Pentagon is still assessing the intelligence. So the Joint Chiefs do not like this gung-ho attitude, okay? Because they've got counterparts in Moscow that are telling them how the land lies. They've got counterparts also in other parts of the world that are telling them how the land lies. Even the British are contemplating very carefully at this point in time because it is a powder keg. Okay? So, you know, man, at this point it has to be said, anyone that is pro-war or anyone that isn't urging Trump to be cautious and to pull back and to stop trying to go to war is off their nuts. It's as simple as that, okay? The people we need to be supporting here are the Joint Chiefs of Staff, okay? We need to support General Mattis. We need to help him as much as we can through public support to make sure that no impetuous decisions are taken in any way, shape, or form, because this is profoundly dangerous. This could spark into a nuclear war. It could easily spiral into something it shouldn't be. So keep for those of you that share my views on this, okay. And there will be some that don't, and whatever. That's, you know, but they don't have any skin in the game, and most of them, as I say, are psychos. Okay, they are literally psychopaths. But for those of you that do, keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on via social media if you want to, via calling the White House directly if you must. Do whatever needs to be done to prevent this. Because there's no coming back from a point of no return, okay, if that line is crossed. All right? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for this video, but I want to thank you very much if you watched. I know we're all on tenterhooks a little bit with regards to all of this. This is very, very dangerous stuff for the world at large. But let us hope sanity prevails. Okay? Anyway, thanks again, and God bless every one of you.